Right, what have I got today? Boosh, it's a new Sofirn, and yes guys, sorry, I've been away for a while. There's a couple of issues I've had to deal with, but things are getting back on track. So I've just finished watching an AC/DC video there, and I am ready to rock. Anyway, so moving on with it, this is the Sofirn IF22A. Now IF22A sounds like some sort of new fighter aircraft in the American arsenal. It isn't. There's an IF22 and this is the 22A. The A has a TIR lens, which I'll cover, and the non-A has more of a sort of traditional reflector like this on the C8 Plus here. So this is the TIR one, which I wanted to have a look at because it looks quite interesting. The head's not too overly huge where you can't fit in and out of your pockets and things like that. So I really enjoyed having a look at this one. So I've put everything back in the box. I've tried to put it back as you would get it when you buy this retail. So got this retails direct from Sofirn. I bought this with my own money. Okay, so let's get in the box because this is the boring bit. So let's get all this stuff out. So there's nothing else in there. Boosh, get that in the bin. There is a collar, which I'll cover, a clip. Now this came on it. That was just an isolator because there's two versions. You can pick the version with the cell or without. I think you'd be, you know, when you look at the price difference, it's very small to get the cell with it, and it's a high capacity. It's about 5,000 milliamp hours, 21700, which I'll cover. So pretty decent. So that's what that was. That was an isolator to stop it going off. Stick that in the bin, and that was a little tag on to say, here dummy, take that out, otherwise it won't work. Yeah, okay, get that in the bin. Here's their cable, which I've tested on multiple occasions. It does work, but I'll show you that. And here's the manual, which I can't be bothered to read. Right, in the bin, Boosh. Okay, so what are we actually looking at here? Here's the light itself, very interesting. Now, you know, traditionally on something like a thrower, and when I say thrower, I'm on about something that's trying to get a bit of distance, you would have a smooth reflector like this, wouldn't you? This is obviously an extreme example because that's large, and this is a lot smaller. You know, you can sort of get that in your pocket, but this, you can't really get that in your pocket unless you're Thor and you pretend that's Mjolnir or something like that. So traditionally, you're looking at a larger head to get a decent thrower anyway. Well, this one, it's quite interesting. It's using a TIR. Now, I realise you do get TIR throwers. However, traditionally, TIR is more for a floody beam, which I'll cover later on. But because it's using a TIR, it's quite small. I can get that in a pocket, no problem. Skinny jeans, just other trousers, yeah, no problems. Certain jackets, military jackets and things like that, no problems whatsoever. Brilliant. It's not too long, but you're still getting a high capacity because they're 21700. The only thing I wasn't that keen on was the flap, but we'll cover that. So let's have a quick look at it. So there's your TIR, pretty nice. Very interesting. You can't take that to bits. I've taken that to bits. It's the central section does change, so I'm presuming at some point you'll be able to get shorter batteries and things like that. So you can take that off and the tail, but you can disengage the tail if you want to disengage the circuit there. The button, it's okay. If I can get it to focus. Focus this week. There you go. It's slightly proud of the shell, but there's a slight recess. You see, it's in line with the SC21s, things like that. It's okay. It gives you a bit of feedback with the LED there behind the button. You know, it's okay. It's okay. It does the job. So green, the battery's doing okay. So it's okay. I'll put it that way. And to feel, yeah, it's fine. The flap's okay once it's in and seated, which it is there now. But it does get in the way. Watch. It's one of these ones where when you move it out the way, it's still actually in the way. Look. See how even though I've tilted it out the way, I mean, let's have a look. Even their own cable which they provide, look, that's slightly in the way. Look, it's pushing onto it, so you've got to hold that out the way, then push that in. You know, not my favorite, but it does work, and it is type C. So let's cover some of the specs whilst I look at this. So this happens to be using the SFT40 LED. If you remember, the SST20s, SST40s give you a nice bit of throw. Sometimes they're a tiny little bit green on the low end lumen output, but they certainly throw. I can attest to that. And in fact, one of my favourite with an SST40 is the FT03 here. Still going, even though I've snapped the little tab off to take that out. It doesn't bother me. I still love this. And you can see it's been battered to hell and back. But this is the SFT40, not an SST40. The difference really is in the fact that it's flatter. The LED is flatter. It's trying to get a little bit more throw. It doesn't have that bead on it. And yes, it is very throwy. This is very throwy. Even for a TIR, it's extremely throwy. You get that major punch in the middle, which is like Luke's lightsaber. They're claiming about 2100 lumens on max. So if you go straight to turbo, 2100, I would say probably about 1900. I've said that in a previous video when I did my initial thoughts. It certainly didn't feel over 2000, but it's very bright. Making it look a little bit brighter is probably the fact that it is a very white tint, but I'll cover the tint values because I did test them. And like I say, it's using a 21700. So if you remember a lot of these lights, you know, things like this, the C8 Plus and the GT Mini and stuff like that, they are using a 18650. So there's an 18650 just for scale. And then on this one, it will use a 21700. So I'll show you that now. So here's the 21700. So slight difference in size, obviously. There, look. Diameter slight difference and length slight difference, both flat tops. Now here comes the issue. You're probably thinking, well, okay, what if I don't get the one with a cell and I want to use my own 18650? Well, theoretically that's possible because they have put a collar in here. However, in practice that doesn't work, so I'm going to have to mark them down for that. I'm sorry, Sofirn, but watch. If I put the collar in, which is great because it stops the rattle and you can put your 18650 in, seems okay, doesn't it? Yeah, okay so far. So let's put that in. Here's the problem, watch. Now I'm not cheating, look, that's right the way down. That is right the way down. Doesn't work because listen, and that's not side to side, that's up and down, listen. Big size discrepancy, so I'm sorry. What Sofirn probably should have done was done a collar with a top lip. You can get collars which are sealed at the end and then have like a little nub. So whether they've put the wrong one in, I don't know. Make sure when you buy this, if you're intending to use an 18650, you don't use a flat top because I couldn't get any of my flat tops to work. And this is a standard one. This happens to be a Samsung 30Q. Very standard, very synonymous in the market. I couldn't get that to work. So I will have to mark them down for that because if people buy that, they're going to be a bit disappointed. I was disappointed. So put that to one side. So the cell they do give you is a pretty decent. I mean, there's figures I'm unsure of. If this is, you know, 5000 milliamp hours, great. However, at that capacity, 50 amps, unlikely, but okay. What I need to do is I need to buy a shunt so I can test the output on that, but my current multimeter, it'll blow up if I go over a certain amount of amps, so I'll try and get a hold of a shunt or something like that, or a non-contact method. But if someone in the comments can comment, can you get a 21700 with that capacity and 50 amps? Okay, maybe it's 50 amps, you know, momentarily, but constant max, I don't know about that. But anyway, it works perfectly for this because this isn't going to drain too much. I mean, the claimed 2000 lumens on that emitter is going to go nowhere near 50 amps continuous, so nothing to worry about there. Battery has worked. I've charged it multiple times. I've charged it in here with 2 different types of cables, including theirs, and I've done it on 2 different chargers. No problems. So let's get that out. In fact, let's have a quick look. Standard Sofirn, nice thick spring, and yes, I'm touching it with my nail, not my fingers. I'm not getting grease on, so calm down in the comments section there. Decent, it's not too bad. And looking at the threads, they are the angular type. They're not those type that strip things, you know, left, right and centre. You can see they're angular. We'll zoom in there. So they're the good type, even though they are painted over there. So we'll zoom back out there. And there is a O-ring there. Now you do get spare O-rings, and I'll show you that. So let's put that back together. So you do get, well, let's open this up. Get a lanyard and everything in here. I didn't take this out because I don't use lanyards, but I know some people like them because they're scared someone's going to steal their torch, or they're working at height. Perfectly acceptable. Yes, I understand that. So 2 O-rings to go on the machine section. Feel okay. They're not that thick, but okay, they'll do the job. Got them if you want them. And here's the lanyard. It feels like a cheap one, but this is a budget light. It's very cheap for what you're getting. Let's just do the pull test. I always do this until it hurts and see if it snaps. Ow, no. Now I've just felt something move there. So let's try that again. Okay, no, okay, I'll be fair. Look, that is hurting. I did feel some movement down here. Has that come out? Okay, maybe it was just a little bit of initial movement, but that hasn't come out. Okay, so I'll call that a pass. Let's do third attempt. I'm not cheating here. I'm not trying to make anyone look good. No, that's hurting. Okay, that hasn't moved. Okay, little bit of movement there. So you may want to get your own lanyard, but it certainly hasn't snapped. Okay, so I'll call that a pass. Boom, in the bin. You do get a clip, although I don't know how you would wear that because that's protruding. So your clip would go on like this. It's sort of a double-ender one, so it goes one way and the other. I don't know how you would do that. I don't know how I would clip that into jeans and stuff, but okay, it's there. And let's just do the lift test. So what I mean by lift test is if I lift this up, I don't want this moving. No, it doesn't. Okay, brilliant. So there's a nice bit of spring in that, and there's an attachment option there if you want it. And it is reversible, though. I can't imagine putting that on something like a skip cap or something like that. And it doesn't get in the way of the charging, which is nice, and it doesn't seem to be taking all the paint off. So we'll take that off for now, just while I'm testing it. Let's look for damage. Pretty decent. Because one of the things I normally complain about with Sofirn is the thin anodization, but look, can't really see any problems there. So well done on that. They've done decent. I mean, I've carried this for a couple of weeks. You can see on this high spot here, I'm talking about this rim here, it has come off a bit. There's a few other little high spots and things, but it's done better than usual. I don't know whether Sofirn are putting a thicker coating on now, but it's certainly lasting longer than I would have normally expected. There's a few silver points there, look, you can see. I'm being fair here. I have carried that in multiple pockets with multiple things, keys, other flashlights and other stuff, and running around and things like that. And there's an attachment point for your lanyard if you really want to use it. So I'll put that to one side. Okay, so let's move on now. So let's talk about charging. So normally, well, traditionally I should say, you would take the cell out and charge it and stick it back in. However, there is onboard charging, which is really handy for a lot of people. I know if I'm camping and things like that, I'll take not necessarily this one, but any power bank, and I'll charge things up. But there is a slight issue depending on how you want to use this. So let's cover that. So standard charging, what you would do is you take a cable, or the cable they give you, type A, that's the fat end of USB, and then type C. So that's, you can put that either way, it doesn't matter. So type C, well done Sofirn, I like that. No more of this stupid micro USB rubbish. So put that in, and then it should charge up. Well, helps if you turn it on. Yeah, so you see that's red and flashing, so ignore that figure. I'll show you the red flashing there. So about 5 volts. Now it charges quite rapidly. Yesterday I did some charging and it went 0.6 of an amp, then it went to 0.7, then a straight 1 amp. It's now hitting 1.1 amp. I have seen it go slightly higher than that, so it charges very rapidly. It also discharges very rapidly. You can use this as a power bank, and it's extremely rapid, and I'll show you that in a second. So very handy. Now the question is it power bank compatible? In other words, let's try type C to type C. So traditionally, ignore the fact that we're using a power bank here. So we'll use this, and this is from Hulk Hogan, or the Incredible Hulk, I don't know. So if you wanted to charge this, so let's try. So we'll stick it, turn it on, might help. So we'll turn that in. So type A, and then we'll go type C. And you can see this is on. I'm not cheating here. So turn that on, charging. Okay, now I've got no way of telling what level that's charging at. I did do some testing and it is quite rapid, but again, it all depends on your outlet. I don't want to say it charges at this speed and then someone tries it at home and says no it doesn't. Well, it depends on your outlet. You need to make sure how much wattage you're capable of outputting. Here comes the problem. Let's say you want to do, and I did have a cable, there's one. Let's say you want to do type C to type C. So there's type C to type C. Okay, so you plug it in because you want to charge it in. So that's it, and then you stick it in your type C. So there's a type C. This just happens to be is this 20 watt or 35 watt? 20 watt, or there's an auto there. So let's just put it in there and see if it charges. Okay, yes, it charges. So type C to type C theoretically works. However, here's the problem. This has a power bank function, so it will let juice come out. Sounds brilliant, doesn't it? However, what happens if you want to charge from a power bank? So you've got a power bank here, which is trying to output charge or take it in, because it can be charged by the type C. And then you've got this, which doesn't know whether it's putting power out or in, because it can be a power bank. So plug it in, let's see what happens. Right, now you see how that's changed to in. So we've got 5 volts there, 1.1 amps. So that is actually charging from that. So you see how that's not flashing. So how on earth, if I was camping and I just had these, how on earth would I charge from a power bank? It's just going to take it from the cell. I mean, the way around it is obviously is to use a power bank like this, where you can charge it from something and you've got the cells and you just put the cells in and charge it from something else, but that's not the point. So bear in mind that it is type C to type C, which is brilliant. It's power delivery compatible. However, make sure whatever combo you're going to use, you are able to charge it from a power bank which has a type C in, because it doesn't know whether it's in or out. Okay, so I just wanted to cover that, but it is theoretically power delivery compatible. So move that all out of the way. Okay, so let's cover what this actually is. So it's using a TIR, like I say. So traditionally, you'd have something like a smooth reflector. So if we turn that on, what you get is, you get your spot there and your spill. So the spill is the light coming directly from the LED, and then this is the directed light. This is focused by that smooth aluminum reflector. So it's trying to focus that out, and you imagine it's focusing, it's trying to fire this spot out and get you a nice throw on that, so you could theoretically go to the side of a field and fire it across the field and find out where your dog is and things like that. Brilliant. Okay, so that's ideal. That focuses it and gives you a bit of distance. However, with a TIR, generally what they're used for is getting a nice diffuse beam. So you generally wouldn't use that for a thrower. However, because of the way they've designed this, they've got this central section. What happens is, now we've got that on a low setting, so I'll turn it up. Excuse me if I cough in here. Okay, so as you can see, totally different profile. Let's put those side by side. Look at the difference there. They both have the central hotspot, you see. However, look at the difference in spill. This spill is, you can see there's a defining line between the darkness there and where that starts. This, not so much. It peters off into nothingness. Now, actually, you'd probably think, well, what's the point of that? That sounds rubbish. Is that not wasting light? Well, it's not, because if you're hiking and walking along, in fact, you can see the width of that there. See it coming up here and here. If I get a bit of white, it might help there. If I put that on something white, there, you see the width of that. That's useful when you're hiking. So I found that when I was walking along with this, you see the width here, I was able to see what the hell I was doing and where my feet were, but I still had this punchy hotspot that I could fire out. So it's an interesting combo, and I really enjoyed using this because of that. Yes, I would offer that if you get the IF22, the non-A version, you're going to get more throw. However, how much of that light is usable? You end up in this situation with when people buy these LEP lights where, yeah, it fires 2 miles, a tiny little dot that you can't see from 2 miles away, pointless. Whereas this gives you something usable. So I really enjoyed using this. I would not normally have not gone for a TIR thrower, but this certainly works now. I really enjoyed it. You've got this, brilliant hotspot that you can fire right out, but then usable light. And I'll show you some shots in a moment, and I did some comparisons, so I really like that. So this comes in IPX8, in other words, ingress protection level 8. It is waterproof. In inverted commas, it's waterproof. In other words, if you put this in water, as long as this is properly seated and you've screwed that and you've screwed that and you haven't fiddled with this, you could theoretically put that in up to 2 meters of water for more than an hour and it won't get in and knack it. So brilliant. I love that if I'm going camping. You can rely on it. Doesn't matter how wet you get, water shouldn't get in as long as you're careful. Has a 1 meter drop rating. I would have liked to have seen 1.5 or higher, but this is a budget light, so I understand that. So I'm not going to mark them down for that. So if you drop that 1 meter onto concrete, it should be theoretically okay. It may be slightly damaged and dinged, but it should be okay. It uses temperature step down in memory mode, so it'll remember the last mode you're in and go straight to that level, but we will cover the UI in a second. So memory mode is, I think it's helpful, and I like a temperature step down. I don't like time step down you get on some of the O lights where they'll run for a set period of time on turbo, for example. Then the heat gets too much and then they're like, well, turn it off after 30 seconds. I find that a little bit irritating. Whereas this one, it will only step down once it hits 55 degrees Celsius. I ran this for 60 seconds plus over and over again. It wasn't stepping down for me, so it was decent, and it wasn't getting that hot. Actually, I was able to sort of hold it like that, not for ages, but on turbo most lights you can't do that, which again leads me to suggest that it's probably not the 2100 lumens that they're quoting. It may be slightly less than that. Okay, so let's go through the UI. So dead simple. So one click on, one click off, and it's memory mode, so it remembers what last mode I was in. If you want to quickly go to moon mode, which is its lowest output, 1 lumen, click and hold there, straight down to its lowest setting. I would say there's a little bit of green in that, not much, but a little bit of green, but it's certainly, I've seen worse in other emitters. This is not bad, and that is its lowest mode, to be fair, where that's going to be more prominent, so pretty decent. Then you click and hold in smooth ramping mode, and it'll ramp all the way up. So it's ramping. There's max. There was a slight flicker there. That's max. And I can feel that that's hot now. And then click and hold, and it goes all the way back down again. If you think, well, hang on, How on earth am I supposed to know how much the output is? Well, one way around that is, when it's on, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's now in stepped mode. So if we click and hold, it should go low, medium, high, low, medium, high, low, medium, high. And then if you want to go back to smooth ramping, 1, 2, 3, 4, there, back to smooth ramping. Now, why would you want that? Well, for a lot of people, it makes it simpler. And you can look at these run times of the 22A, for example, and so you've got low, medium, high. You can look at those figures and work out how long the battery's going to last. So yeah, I understand why people would want that. You can refer to that, and if you get used to the light, you know how long it's going to last. I prefer smooth ramping. I would rather take extra batteries. So those are your quick options. When it's on or off, you can use turbo to go straight to maximum. So just to prove you, we're not on maximum here. So we're on a very low setting there. If I wanted to quickly go to the highest level, it's double click there, straight to turbo. Same when it's on. So when it's on, we'll turn it on there, turn it up a little bit, double click, straight turbo. So you've got that option. You can instantly get a turbo. I like that. You can instantly get a moonlight. You can instantly get a turbo. You can also instantly get to strobe. So for strobe, it is a 3. So 1, 2, 3. And I'll cover that because I don't want to annoy people. It's a 2-phase one. So it's, in fact, I'll put it down so you can see over here. So you've got a slightly slower strobe, and then it goes to a faster strobe, then slower. I like the alternating ones, although I would prefer to see some adjustment in the speed would have been nice, like on the Android UIs, but this is a simple one. So, okay, we'll forgo that. So you've got that option. You've also got the 4 clicks, which again, when it's on, takes you between smooth mode and ramping mode. So brilliant. You also have 4 clicks when it's off, so it has to be off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, locks. It locks it, so it won't work. However, similar to Android, you do get a temporary mode, so when that's locked, it won't work. However, you can click and hold for a momentary blast, and it's low. I like that mode. It's similar to what you get in Android, so you pull this out of your pocket instead of having to go 1, 2, 3, 4, right, look at this map, 1, 2, 3, 4, back in the pocket. You can just pull it out, do that, look at your map without ruining your night vision, and then stick it back in your pocket. It's still locked. Excellent feature. I really like that, and I do actually use that feature. So 1, 2, 3, 4, unlocked, back to normal. Okay, so very simple UI. It's not over the top, and it doesn't have millions of options. It has everything you need, and you can quickly get to it. I understand that. That's brilliant. Okay, even though I do like the complicated ones because I'm a nerd, I'm happy with that. I think they've done a decent job on the UI. Okay, so what I want to do is we'll discuss some of the facts and figures. So CRI, I tested on this, which is the color rendering index. So natural light, which is coming in here from the window, is 100%. You get a good color rendering index. You see the full color gamut. The lower that gets, the more irritating it becomes. 70 is about right for a Cree. I did some testing. In fact, we'll put this here. Let's bring up my testing results. There you go. So there's my testing results. So CRI was a very low, 66.7%. So a little bit lower than I would like to have seen. You know, sub 70 becomes a little bit irritating. Although I'll be honest, when I used this, it wasn't that bad. Especially on green foliage, it wasn't too bad. And you can see from the tint, when I say tint, that's what us flashaholics refer to as the Kelvin value. So the Kelvin value was 6,299. In other words, it's up towards the standard sort of what you would refer to as a cool white, so a white light, as opposed to neutral, which is about 4,500 to 5,000-ish, depending on the emitter. And then you've got warm tints down to sort of 4,000 and 3,500, very, very warm, past sort of sunlight level. Okay, so let's get rid of that there. Okay, that gets rid of that. So what else did I do? So I tested it with some other lights. So what we'll do is I'll show you some side-by-side shots, but before I do that, I want to discuss some good and bad points because I don't want to rattle on too long and then people get sick of the video. So pros, let's think about this. Cheap. You've got quick access to moon, quick access to strobe, and quick access to turbo. Brilliant, I like that. It's power delivery compatible with a little asterisk, because remember I told you it is power delivery compatible, but if you're using a power bank, because this has a power bank feature, you get that strange problem. If anyone's more intelligent than me, stick it in the comment section, you know. But if it's power bank to power bank, then you have an issue, don't you? Because that negotiation can't really work something out. But it is technically power delivery compatible with its Type-C, so top marks for that. Okay, so it is pocketable, and I'm not lying. Look, there's my hand, and it does go into my pocket, no problem. It is pocketable for me. It's got excellent throw, you know, really good, and it's nice. It's fat enough where it's usable. It's not some little pinpoint over, you know, you can see a pixie 10 miles away. Well, yeah, but you can't see anything, so it's pretty decent. It comes with a high cap cell, 5,000 milliamp hours, excellent. With that capacity, I'm doubtful as to whether it's the 50 amp claim on the wrapping, but maybe I'm wrong, maybe, who knows, you can put it in the comment section. Has a very simple UI, which I like, because although I like the complex ones, I do sometimes get comments from people saying, well, yeah, you're a nerd, I just want something simple. Yes, okay, I understand that. For the mass market, it's probably better that they have a simpler UI like this. It ramps, and you can put a stepped option in. Brilliant. A little bit of customization, but not too much where people get, you know, become unstuck. And it has power bank function, which is pretty rapid, as you've seen. I've seen it go pretty high, 2 amp plus and things like that output. So excellent, no problems with that. Cons though, power delivery problem if you're using a power bank, because then this tries to be a power bank and it fills the power bank that you're using to try and use as a power bank to fill the flashlight. So bit of a problem there. CRI is lower than I would have liked to have seen. You know, it's sub 70%, you know, nearly 65%. A little bit of a problem there. And there's no tint options on this. It is cool white only, which is again a little bit of a shame. I would have liked to have seen a nice warmer one, or even a neutral. In fact, no, probably like a cool white or a warm would have been nice, because I think this in a warm would be rather beautiful. And it may slightly increase throw due to backscatter and things like that. Anyway, the flap is slightly irritating. As I've said, it's fine once it's in and it's seated. That works, and it is sealed. However, it's one of these ones where you rotate out the way, but it isn't out the way, because no Type C is just the width of that. There's also a bit of housing on the cable, isn't there? And so you always have to like pull that out the way. And yeah, I would like to see that slightly redesigned. You know, maybe I'm being picky, but I have to be. And I couldn't use a flat top 18650, even with the included collar. I might have a look. I mean, I'm not going to do it during this review, but you know, I've got loads of other collars. You know, this is a that's a 2651 to down to with the. I'll have a look and see what I've got knocking about. But I think they should have included a different collar. Maybe they will moving forward if people complain. I'm certainly going to complain about it. Because that's a little bit of an irritation. There's a way around that. You just stick a magnet on, but you shouldn't have to do that. So there's another problem. So all in all, pretty decent, and I'm going to give this a pretty decent mark, despite the slight drawbacks with battery and power delivery. So what I'll do is let's explain what this is like in comparison to other lights. So we'll move everything out of the way. Okay. So if we bring up an image here. Right, so I went out and I tested the Astrolux FT03, the Brianite PT18 Pro, Convoy C8 Plus, Lumentop GT Mini, and this light, the Sofirn IF22A. I also tried to test a Convoy, which was the M21E, but I couldn't get it to work because I was mucking around with batteries and I'd actually run the battery down. So I did slightly slag that off in my thoughts video, but it was my problem, so it is working, and to prove it, I'll show you it later on. Anyway, so I did test with these, so let's discuss what we can see here. So straight off, Astrolux FT03 is the most throwy and has the largest physical bowl, and when I say bowl, I'm talking about the aluminum reflector. So you've got this large, powerful throw out there, which is great, but then as you can see, left and right, peripheral suffers because it is a traditional smooth reflector. That's fine, it is a thrower. However, I wouldn't take it camping, because if I was hiking along, it's a bit more irritating. So, but great, no problems with that. Okay, so next one along, the Brianite, the PT18 Pro, it's the Pro version, using a, I should have said actually, the FT03 is using a SST40, and the Brianite is using a Cree 30. It might be a 30.2 or 35, I'll have to look that up. But as you can see, it's a little bit more diffuse, isn't it? Even though it looks like an orange pure reflector output, it isn't, it's a smooth reflector. However, again, you can see it loses on the peripheral. In fact, it's possibly slightly shorter width on the peripheral vision there compared to the Astrolux. But I did enjoy using that walking along more than the Astrolux because it's more diffuse. It's like an orange peel. So the hotspot is wider and more diffuse there. Probably more usable, but you're going to lose a little bit on throw on you. Next one along top right, Convoy C8 Plus using a Cree XPL High. Again, very similar to the Astrolux. Maybe there's a tiny little bit difference in width. Very, very similar though, isn't it? Extremely similar, although you can see the hotspot is less bright. That's because there'll be less lumens in that area. That C8 Plus is probably not even 1,000, maybe it's just 1,000 lumens. Lumtop GT Mini uses exactly the same emitter as, well, very similar anyway to the C8 Plus, although it does throw slightly further. That's just something I've found. It does throw slightly further in my tests. However, if you look at the width of the beam, look, it's not as wide as the Convoy C8, so better as a thrower, not so much peripheral vision. Now, in comparison to all of them, look at this light we're looking at here, the Sofirn IF22A. Now, isn't that interesting? You've got the strong throw in the middle, just as strong as the FT03. If you look at the blue beam there, in fact, it looks wider. Maybe it's not quite as bright in the hotspot area, but then look around it, you've got usable diffuse light. I think that's brilliant, and I enjoyed walking along with it. Normally, if I'm walking along with a thrower, I'm like, this is a bit irritating. I can't really see my feet, so I'll point it down a bit so I can see where the hell I'm walking, so don't twist and angle. But then when you do that, you can't see out in front. And this wasn't a problem with this light, so it's pretty good for camping and hiking and outdoor stuff. You've got that punch in the middle, brilliant. You've got your lightsaber effect in the middle, but the diffuse was enough where it was enjoyable to use. I was truly, I changed my mind. You know, when I first got out of the box, I thought this is going to be a nightmare, but no, it was pretty decent. It was pretty decent. Anyway, I feel like I've waffled, you know, long enough, but I loved the TIR. It worked. Nice peripheral, excellent punch in the middle. Okay, so let's get rid of that photograph there. Okay, right, that's gone. So these are the lights I tested it with. I'll try and be rapid here because I want to give this a mark and move on. I've done loads of footage. That's the one that I thought was knackered, but that was my fault. So I tested against a couple of XPL highs, which are the C8 Plus here. Very budget light, but excellent, as you've seen. Does a good job as a thrower. It's been around the block here. It's getting a bit knackered, but it still works. Tail clicker, no problems with that. Simple UI, about 1000 lumens. The GT Mini throws slightly further, but slightly reduced width on the beam profile, which you saw there. But again, nice, and it's got a decent UI there. And it's got quite a nice, if I remember rightly, this one has quite a nice tint. Yeah, it's quite warm. I'll show you. Yeah, very warm in comparison. Look to that one. That's very white. This is very warm. See the difference here? So just remember, this IF22A is white. This is huge. This throws further. I prefer the button, but it's been beat up, and it's using an SST40. You couldn't get that in a pocket though, theoretically, could you? Look at the difference in size. Massive difference. That goes in a pocket. That generally doesn't, unless you're, you know, a clown or something. I tested it with the Bright. I quite like this for hiking. Although it's pushing it a bit, I would prefer a TIR, but this is rock solid. I've, you know, banged in things on fences with this, no problems. The paint's slightly coming off, but I'm still using it, no problems. This uses as a Cree emitter, which is the 30 or the 35. More of a white light, but brilliant, and no problems, but very expensive in comparison to this. This is cheap, especially when you throw the cell in. I tested it with an XP, I think this is the 70.2, very bright, I'll show you. Nice tint on this, but very bright, a little bit diffuse actually, even though it is a smooth reflector. But again, 21700, same cell, but much bigger, look. But you're going to get a bigger, fatter, higher output from that, if that's what you want. Heavier, I quite like the knurling on that. So I just want to show you, those were the lights that I tested against. So as I say, quick access to Moon, Strobe and Turbo. It is pocketable, power delivery compatible with an asterisk. I'm not trying to cover anything up here. If you're using a power bank, you could have issues. It is Type C, which is brilliant. I like that. Excellent throw, high cap cell comes with it if you want. Simple UI, but you can customize it slightly between the ramping and the stepped. Decent power bank function if you want it, which outputs quite rapidly. I was shocked by that. Very, very decent. Cons, power delivery issues in certain circumstances. Very low CRI, which is a little bit disappointing. No tint options. That's picky, I understand. The flap's a little bit irritating for me. That could just be me. And I was unable to get a flat top. This was a Samsung 30Q, so an 18650 flat top, even with the included collar. So they may want to rethink this collar. Nice that they've added that, but you might want to rethink that, Sofirn. And you get a clip, which I'm not going to use on this style of light. So let's give this marks out of 10, and I'll show you loads of footage and comparisons. So with everything in mind, I was going to give this a 9, but now can I mark it down for this? I mean, they could have said, well, it's a 21700, get on with it, and not even include the collar. They've tried, maybe it's a button top, you'll be all right, or stick a magnet on. I'll maybe take a fraction of a point off for that. I'm not going to be too harsh. Slightly low on the CRI, take another fraction of a point off. And power delivery, but that's not going to affect everyone. I'm getting into technicalities here. I think this just, for the price, it's incredible, especially when you put the cell in. I got this for like 30 bucks, 30-ish bucks, 35 bucks I think in total. Incredible for what you're getting in this day and age. You know, and I say that I didn't get this for free. I paid for this. Again, all my reviews are honest, but again, you can count on your bottom dollar. I'm not saying anything that I wouldn't normally say. I think they're doing a decent job. I'll give it 8.5 because there are issues, and if I give it 9, people say, well, that's ridiculous. Yeah, 8.5. I think that's very fair. They've done a good job. Well done, Sofirn. You might want to change that and have a look at the bins that you're getting on the LEDs and try and get the CRI slightly higher. Maybe that's just something to do with the SFT40s. I don't know. This is the first SFT40 I've tested, so there you go. So 8.5, well done. I'm going to show you loads of comparisons now so you can make up your own mind and see them side by side, because I was very impressed with this for the price. I think you will enjoy it if you get it. I've put a link in. It's not an affiliate link, don't worry. It's a link into Sofirn's website direct. I don't get paid for that. It's just there to help you out, but buy that wherever you want. I don't care. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me. Right, and that's enough. 8.5, well done, Sofirn. Let's get out here.